Well, welcome back, Warhawks. Got an exciting edition of Carnegie Math. This is chapter 8, but it's still dealing with triangle congruency. It's going to be short video and short notes, but I wanted to put this with chapter 7 because the triangle congruency that we've been working with in chapter 7, this goes right along with it. But we're dealing with, in this case, right triangle congruency. So it has to be a right triangle. And we have this thing that we call the hypotenuse leg theorem, okay, HLT for the abbreviation. And remember, again, this only applies to right triangles. So if you notice down in this picture, if two right triangles have a congruent hypotenuse, you should know what the hypotenuse is of a right triangle. It's the one that's across from the 90-degree angle. It's the longest side. And any other leg are congruent. Then they are congruent by HLT, the hypotenuse leg theorem. So we look at these two triangles here. I see triangle ABC, and I see triangle FED. Now notice how in the last chapter we talked about how angle side side, which is actually what this is, doesn't work. However, there's one special case, and it has to do with right triangles. If we have a right triangle, we know that the angle is a 90-degree angle, and we have the hypotenuse in another leg, even though it's angle side side and angle side side doesn't work. We know that. This still works because technically it's its own special case. With a right triangle, if the hypotenuse is congruent in any other leg, then these two triangles are congruent. So we would say triangle A, B, C is congruent to triangle F, E, D, and my reasoning would be by the hypotenuse leg theorem. Okay, HLT for the abbreviation. Let's look at some more examples. Now, in this one we have here, again, is an example of the hypotenuse leg theorem. Now, your textbook talks about some different ones, but here we see that we have a right triangle, so immediately I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm going to use the hypotenuse leg. It doesn't appear to work because we have angle side side, which doesn't work, but since it is a right triangle, we have a hypotenuse congruent and another leg. These two triangles are congruent by the hypotenuse leg theorem, or HLT. Now, your book says something about hypotenuse angle. If you see a picture like this, we have right triangles, we have a congruent hypotenuse, but it doesn't qualify for hypotenuse leg because we don't have another leg. Now, your book says something weird like the hypotenuse angle, but forget about that because we can think back to our triangle congruency. This is first and foremost a triangle, so I wouldn't use any other weird type of hypotenuse thing. This is just going to be congruent by angle, angle, side. So rely on those old ones. I've never actually seen this before, even though your book talks about it. I would just call this angle, angle, side. They have another one called leg angle. But, I mean, I'm looking at this, and this is a right triangle. We don't even have a congruent hypotenuse, so I know hypotenuse leg is not going to come into play. But they want you to use something called leg angle, but we're just going to scratch that because this is first and foremost angle, side, angle. So these triangles would be congruent by angle. Oops. Let's correct that. Angle, side, angle for these. I hope everybody sees that. Don't worry about this stuff that they're telling you, the leg, or leg angle. And then we look down here at this one, and they call it leg. But, I mean, if I look at this and I see it, I've got a right angle here. The hypotenuse isn't congruent, so I know I'm not going to use hypotenuse leg. But it's already set up for congruency. I mean, we've done questions like this before. This one, I wouldn't call it leg. Forget about that stuff that your book's saying. Okay, just call it side, angle, side. I mean, this is set up for side, angle, side. And then lastly, I wanted to show you how we can use the hypotenuse leg because this one's set up where we have right angles. Both of these are right angles. We have a congruent hypotenuse. That's good. But then I don't have anything else. However, we've done a lot of these in class because of that reflexive property. That side would be congruent to itself. So even though this is angle side side, which doesn't work, it is a right triangle, so that special case can apply where we have a congruent hypotenuse and a congruent leg. So this one's actually going to be the hypotenuse leg theorem. And that's the only time you're going to use anything different than what we've done before, is if you have a right triangle with a congruent hypotenuse and another leg, where we can't use angle side side because it's hypotenuse leg. All right, we'll see you in class.